I have the opportunity today to share with you some of the experience we have been undertaking research on sustainable desertification in Eastern Southern Africa. But I want to throw this question to you all. Why are we here in this hall today? Are we here to verify or ascertain where the CA works for Africa? Yes, we know it has worked for the Americas, Europe, Australia, including smallholder farmers in Asia. What were the enabling conditions that helped CA to move like wildfire in these different continents? What makes African farm systems unique compared to the other continents? And what are we to do? What's the task at hand? I think I congratulate this Congress, the first Africa Congress Conservation Agriculture, to bring us together here. And the take-home message from this would be, can we make CA work for Africa? If yes, how? The team that we're asked to prepare some presentation on this is effective research, including socioeconomics and adoption. So I just want to show the African context a bit unique in that we are dealing smallholder farmers with an average household size of 5 to 7 people, 0.1 to 3.5 hectares was the average holding, growing many crops with less inputs, degraded soils. The list goes on to describe the system. I think most socioeconomists that are here have managed to describe, identify, characterize the socioeconomic environment, our farming systems, and we have rich data set. But one size does not fit all. Even for 53 African countries, look at the specificity that is needed to promote CA, including any agronomic research. So this brings a challenge for all of us here. What kind of technologies or practices or options can we present to our smallholder farmers in Africa? As a result of that, we have in Summit, we try to respond to a challenge for changing food security and climate change, and we are focusing on, of the 3 major staple crops, we are privileged to have the global mandate for maize and wheat systems. We don't do only breeding, we do systems research. As Amir was talking about, CA suffers from lack of commitment by many to focus on systems. So we believe the systems approach is the right direction, and in response to that, with the good generosity of Australian government, we established are running a project called SIMLESA, Sustainable Intensification for Maize and Wheat Systems in Eastern and Southern Africa, that covers many countries. There is a beautiful exhibition at the tent. You would have more details. We have materials, results, pamphlets that have come out of this endeavor. We try to increase the mushroom and legume systems productivity by 30%. We use the different disciplines we have, the different research programs we have in CIMIT. We also try to focus on how do we ensure that yield variability is maintained or kept or stable. And we have a target of reaching so many thousand households in 10 years in the life of the project. We initially started with yellow shaded countries, we call them core SIMLESA countries, and we moved to what we call spillover countries, South Sudan, Uganda, even Zambia, and so on, and Botswana. And we have technologies that are, from the work we have done, that are spilling over to these countries with the necessary modifications. What makes this approach different? We have a number of eyes. We want to integrate the disciplines, agronomy, breeding systems, socioeconomics. We want to bring a new approach, or the approach that many of us use, innovation platforms, where we bring actors together in the value chain and discuss the constraints, the production constraints in the communities. And we have a targeted impact figure that, as I put, and we need the eyes, the other eyes, information, inputs, institutions. So we have this approach, and we try to have socioeconomics component, the agronomic component, trying to bring improved varieties of legumes and maize. We cannot just have a good agronomic practice without the appropriate cultivars. We also like to try to look at the other areas, cross-cutting. How do you mainstream gender? Gender is an important component. M&E, spillovers, and capacity building. Capacity building. We know that CA works for Africa. I don't have to go to the graphs and the tables that was presented by many of you. In Eastern Southern Africa, we have evidence that from a biophysical perspective, we have all the benefits listed here. But how do you make sure that this benefit would accrue to the farming community? We know, and fertilizer trees work. But as somebody asked it earlier, would farmers wait for 10 or 15 years to reap a benefit out of that? How do you ensure that farmers understand that the long-term gestation of such an intervention will pay off? So we try to, the socioeconomists in this program, in this SIMLESA program, try to understand. They undertook a huge survey, household survey, to understand the components and the characteristics, the profile of households, and see what's going on under the farming systems. We have evidence to show that benefits accrue when technologies are used, not by component, but the benefits increase when you use them in a package. But options are there. We have figures that show this. We have also figures that show the labor-saving advantage of CA, particularly in Malawi, where we found that it is a pathway. I think our total land care colleagues can testify how farmers in Malawi have been able to diversify their production practices from maize to other high-value crops. Put more labor into tobacco, put more labor into production of paprika, vegetables, and so on, and earn more cash income. We have also indicated how the different components, when packaged gradually or marginally, if you move from a single component to a more packaged, multi-component technology options, how the income is increased or increasing. So this data empirically proven. We have it and being published under Ecological Economics, the published paper. We have another one going to the Environment Development Economics Journal. So we have, in the last 3-4 years, we were able to assemble this data, conduct this on-farm research, and get the evidence. Evidence is the issue now for CA. Do we have the evidence? Yes, we have the biophysical evidence. Do we have the socioeconomics evidence to prove that it works and convince farmers that they better adopt this technology if they have to increase their income? We have also said that in terms of risk reduction, our colleagues have calculated how moving from a single component to a more diversification, crop diversification, minimum tillage, combining both minimum tillage and diversification increases or reduces the risk issue in terms of in Malawi and Ethiopia. We have also savings recorded from ecosystem benefits by intensification, how we have been able to save soil loss through this research project. We do not always look at the agronomic practice alone. You have to bring these silver bullet varieties, drought-tolerant maize, drought-tolerant resistant legume practices into the system. So I always argue, don't give a farmer the variety that's 15 years old and tell me, this is all the farmer wants. The farmer will not pick a new practice until you show him or her. Why do you stick into an old Volkswagen if you don't know about Mercedes, So let's give the options to farmers, the new options in terms of varieties and practices. And that's what we are trying to do in this project. We said not all maize varieties do a good job when it comes to intercropping. So the SIMLESA team in Ethiopia managed to come up with a new hybrid maize that we call it CA compatible. As you can see, it is erect structure, and they have come up and they are releasing this variety. We have used farming communities, including women farmers, for particular variety selection. We need to look at the appropriate component technologies, As I said earlier, we need to look at the value chains, as we discussed yesterday, the different value chains that are not in place, and we need to study those and see how we can make this farmers are linked to these value chains. What is the take-home message? Particularly when we come to the theme of this section, this theme 7, we need to develop the economists here. I don't know, I can imagine about 40 or 50 of them here from the list. We need to really revisit our agenda, our list of activities, how we can develop typologies. Do we have evidence to prove CA practices pay, that farmers will invest? We need to quantify the trade-offs. There is a lot about crop-livestock interaction, residues versus animal feed. What's the figure? Have you quantified that? And we have that done. We need to see the labor-saving benefits, how diversification is propelled through this, and the reduction, and also the gender issue. Monitor and measure adoption patterns, intensity, and potential impacts. And understand the CA environment services and climate change nexus. And I'm sure the policymakers are not here, they too. The policymakers need to get adequate information adequate evidence based to be convinced to help us to come up with policy instruments. What should we do? If we want to preach to a policymaker about crop livestock, it says here, give and take, tackling trade-offs in crop residues. That's it. The research is done, the article is published, but we have produced policy briefs that goes to the policymaker, tell him what to do. I will not go in details into the recommendations here. So we need to have this adoption of CA as sustainable agricultural development strategy. Zambia is the forefront. Malawi is also adopting the strategy, but many of the countries, I hope through CADAP and through this Congress, will be able, that CA is taken as a strategy. And policy investment research, but I think that one message I want for all of us take home. We have been told, no, CA practice works. They work in Asia, they work in America. So here in Africa, just go and promote them. It doesn't work. We have seen it, it doesn't work. So for donors and others, there is no shortcut. We need to keep on investing in research, both in biophysical, both in socioeconomics, and particularly, we need to invest in capacity. If you go to most of the national research systems, we have an aging generation of researchers. We have not invested on our capacity. I'm glad to see the young lady, the young girl here talking about the youth. How do you bring the youth to agriculture? Can CA help us to motivate the youth to love agriculture? Can we make agriculture sexy? Yes, we can. So, no shortcuts, ladies and gentlemen. We have to keep on working hard to bring the necessary knowledge and information to promote CA adoption. Thank you.